We're already feeling the impact of Tropical Storm Beta along the Texas coast. I'm Angel San Juan. I have a live report from Galveston coming up in moments.
Well, as you can see, they're getting pretty high up around here.
Residents in Bridge City expressing concern about clogged drainage ditches from debris left behind by Hurricane Laura. What the city is doing to prepare for Tropical Storm Beta.
Cost us so much to leave last time, and it didn't hit as bad as they thought it was going to, so we decided to stick it out.
And sticking it out for Tropical Storm Beta, what families in Sabine Pass are doing tonight to safeguard their homes and the rest of their property.
Live from the KFDM studios, you're watching KFDM 6 News at 6.
Thanks for joining us, Southeast Texas. I'm Tiffany Murphy.
And I'm Greg Kerr. Happening now, Tropical Storm Beta is moving ashore near Port Lavaca, but the rain bands are already impacting Southeast Texas.
Chief Meteorologist Greg Bostwick is tracking the radar. He joins us now with the latest on Beta. Greg?
Well, it's kind of performing like we thought it would. Over the last few days, we thought it would kind of weaken a little bit and not produce a whole ton of rain. And we're really seeing that on the satellite view right now. There's an interaction with land beginning to occur. That's weakening it. Also, upper level winds out of the southwest are getting wind shear, and there's a lot of dry air coming in along the backside. So the convective activity around the center is really, really weak as far as a tropical system. That's very unimpressive. There's still a lot of clouds, though, producing scattered showers up into the Houston area. That's where most of the rain is occurring right now. Light rain over around Kirbyville, Burkeville, Jasper, across the triangle. This is all pretty light stuff. The heavy rains to our southwest down toward the Houston area, where they've had upwards of about 5 inches of rain in a few spots here, mainly to the south of Houston, northeast of Freeport, out toward Angleton, west of Galveston. And our camera down at Sabine Pass School is bouncing around pretty good. Still some pretty gusty winds, sponsored by Do Good and Worthing Roofing on the live weather network. And let's go on the Market Basket Weather Net to Sabine Pass. 43-mile-per-hour wind gusts there. Not much rain, only about 1/10 of an inch so far. And it's 78 degrees after high 82. Now the algae report is still climbing again. Ragweed's going to be a problem this weekend, especially once the rain moves out. And as far as the forecast goes for the beach, obviously a day to stay away. The reason why I want to show you this more than anything is that water temperature 78 degrees. We like that. Get it below 80. That really kind of shuts down hurricane season. Hopefully this will be the last hurrah coming up with Beta. We'll talk more about the forecast heading for the weekend in a few minutes.
All right, Greg, thank you. That's good news to see 78 like that, right?
Fingers
well, even
crossed.
though Beta still has a ways to go before reaching Southeast Texas, it is making its presence felt in Galveston right now.
And tonight, that's where we find KFDM's Angel San Juan and photojournalist Kevin Fitch bringing us a front row seat to the storm from Galveston seawall. Guys?
Hey, Tiffany. Well, Kevin and I are breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief right now because this is the first time we've actually gotten a break from the weather all day long. This Galveston has been battered with rain and with strong winds, but check this out. A little bit of sunshine we're seeing right there. I'm sure the way the day's been going, it won't last long, but we are enjoying it right now. And just let me show you just basically how Beta is churning that water. These waves have been pretty high throughout the day, and of course not a safe space at all for anyone. That's why the beaches right now are closed, but that has not stopped many onlookers from coming out to the seawall where we are and braving the conditions to experience what a major storm feels like. One parent says since school was canceled today because of the storm, this actually served as an educational experience for her kids, and she brought her kids over here to the seawall to basically experience the storm, and they got a big buff of it today as well. And so did a lot of folks, and as you can see earlier today, there were a lot of folks here just watching the remnants of what we had as Beta made it ashore. Now, some neighborhoods are already experiencing flooding, which caused some cars to be stranded. And the city actually called for a voluntary evacuation, but most folks are staying put. And for the most part, as we've traveled around town, traffic's the same, businesses are open. It really does seem that despite this bad weather, it's business as usual here in Galveston.
Well, this is a routine for Galvestonians. When you've lived in Galveston all your life, you become used to hurricanes. And this is going to be a small one. This is more of a rain event, water event, than it's going to be a wind event, but we still keep our guard up.
And let me show you something that's become a tourist attraction today. That is part of the 61st Street fishing pier. Now earlier, a lot of folks thought that it had been torn away from the fishing pier because of the storm, and in a way it has, but it got a little help from the owner of the pier. The pier had been damaged during Laura, and he worried that it would get severely damaged with Beta, so they loosened it up a bit, and Mother Nature finished the job for them, and that's part of the pier right there. And again, an important thing to point out, ferry service. The Bolivar Ferry is suspended, obviously, because of the water and the strong wind. So right now, the only way to get to Galveston is the long way through Houston. We're live in Galveston, Angel San Juan, KFDM 6 News.
And to Bridge City tonight, where residents there are voicing concerns about large debris piles left behind after Hurricane Laura. They say if rain from Beta intensifies, it could cause major issues with the drainage ditches. KFDM's Rocio De La Fe reports on what the city is now doing to prevent those ditches from clogging up.
Drive around Bridge City and you'll find piles like this in practically every neighborhood.
Well, if you can see, they're getting pretty high up around here.
Roofs, fences, trees, and anything else Hurricane Laura destroyed has ended up in large bundles ready for crews to pick up. The concerns residents like Ramsey Red now have is Tropical Storm Beta on the way.
People lost their roof down yonder, and the neighbor here lost his little he shed back yonder, and it's pretty well beginning to get in the ditches and clog up stuff.
There is so much debris from Hurricane Laura that it's now ending up in drainage ditches across the city. Too much debris can cause flooding, and with more rain expected in the coming days, Red says more should be done.
But ain't nobody been down here to look at anything or clean the ditches out, so I don't know what they're doing.
City Manager Jerry Jones says contractors began the process of picking up debris last week. He says at this point there's not much the city can do about the material already inside the drainage ditches because there's just so much of it. But for Ramsey Red, it's a painful reminder of what can happen when water starts rising.
Now during Harvey, I lost everything. Oh man. I lost guitars, amps, my clothes, my hats, shoes. We stayed over at the Longhorn for like 3-4 months. And it was like neck deep on where we lived.
Jones says several more trucks are expected to pick up piles this week before weather conditions worsen. In Bridge City, Rocio De La Fe, KFDM 6 News.
Areas west of Beaumont could see 2 to 3 inches of rain from Tropical Storm Beta.
Happening tonight, the water is rising along parts of the Neches River, prompting the city of Beaumont to close the boat launch at Collier's Ferry Park off Pine Street in North Beaumont. Workers put up barricades, and the city will reopen the boat launch when it's safe for boaters to head back out. Despite the closure, we saw several fishermen trying their luck even with the rising water. Well, some families tell us they are not planning to leave Sabine Pass or Pleasure Island, despite the Port Arthur mayor's request for a voluntary evacuation. This is the view outside of Charlotte Block's home over in Sabine Pass. Block and her husband decided to evacuate for Hurricane Laura, but not this time around. They're staying put to prepare for Beta's landfall. Block is placing her generator outside, elevating her RV, and removing any items from her yard that could be picked up by high winds and blown around.
It's not feasible, financially or otherwise, because it costs so much money to pack up the RV, the storage trailer, the motorcycles, you know, and we're just put them up high and hope and pray.
Sabine Pass and Pleasure Island are the only communities in Jefferson County where voluntary evacuations are in place.
Entergy tonight telling customers the company is prepared for any impacts from Beta. The company says crews are prepared to restore power as quickly as possible. If there is flooding, it may be difficult, they say, for workers to get to certain areas, and that means restoration could take longer. Entergy says it has brought in additional crews along with high water vehicles and other equipment to help. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says the state has also brought in additional manpower and equipment to prepare for Beta. The governor told us he understands that while Southeast Texans may be tired of storms this hurricane season, they must remain prepared.
Oh, for one, hang in there. This is our
third big tropical storm to hit the Texas coast during this time of the COVID pandemic at the same time. But what we've seen, like in the aftermath of the last hurricane that ripped through there a couple of weeks ago, the residents responded so well, responded so effectively, and were able to get back to normal a whole lot quicker. Just use that same grit that they always have to get back to normal as quickly as possible, knowing that Texas and your local officials will be there by your side every step of the way, providing whatever resources you need.
Port Arthur ISD has canceled in-person learning all this week because of Beta making its way towards southeast Texas. In-person learning was supposed to begin today, but will now begin Monday, September 28th. Meanwhile, Beaumont ISD has canceled in-person learning today and tomorrow. Students could return to the classroom on Wednesday. In the meantime, both districts will continue with online learning.
And tonight we're learning of just 7 newly identified COVID cases in Beaumont today, 9 this past Saturday. The health department reporting the 16 new cases since tracking began, totals just over 3,500. Recoveries so far nearly 3,000 and deaths 63. All but 3 of those had underlying health conditions.
The pandemic is impacting many Americans, not just physically, but mentally. How it's taking an extra toll on one group of workers.
And still some areas of rain in the area with Beta to our southwest. What further impact? We'll take a look.